Hello, and welcome back to BayBrothers. Today, we're taking a look at something that has two completely different versions depending on where you first saw it. The origin of Spider-Man's alien costume, and how the story eventually leads to Venom. A lot of fans grew up with the 1990s Spider-Man the Animated Series, while others know the original comic book version from Secret Wars and the issues that followed. These two versions take the same basic idea, Spider-Man bonding with an alien suit, but they explore it in very different ways. So today we're going to talk about the version most people know from the animated series, then we're going to talk about how the comic books originally did it. And finally, we're going to break down all the major differences between them. Let's start with the 1990s animated series version, which is the more recognizable one. In this version, the symbiote arrives on Earth through a space shuttle crash. The symbiote searches for a compatible host and finds Peter Parker. Once it bonds with him, Peter immediately notices that the suit gives him power. He becomes stronger, faster, more agile, and more resilient. He reacts quicker in fights, he overwhelms villains that used to give him trouble, and he starts to enjoy that power. The suit also brings conveniences. It responds to Peter's mental commands, transforms into street clothes, and produces its own organic webbing, removing the need for cartridges. From Peter's point of view, this feels like a complete upgrade. But the power comes with a cost. The symbiote changes Peter's personality. He becomes more aggressive, more willing to cross the lines Spider-Man would never cross. His temper rises, he talks down to people, and his moral center starts slipping. The turning point comes when he nearly kills Shocker and Rhino, and he realizes he's losing control. In this version, Peter takes the suit to Kurt Connors, who analyzes it and discovers it's a living organism. Connors warns him that the symbiote wants to permanently bond, and that Peter needs to remove it before it's too late. But Peter doesn't want to let go of how powerful the suit makes him. Eventually, after experiencing the extremes of what it brings out in him, he recognizes that he has to give it up. Yet the symbiote refuses to let go of Peter. The crucial moment comes when Peter discovers the suit's weakness on his own. He pieces together that sounds affects it, takes himself to the church bell tower, and forces the symbiote off through sheer willpower. His moral strength and determination drive the entire removal sequence. The symbiote resents Spider-Man for refusing the power he offers, and when it drops to Eddie Brock, whose resentment for Peter is already deep, their hatred merges and creates Venom. That's the version most people know, and it's the version that became iconic because of its emotional stakes and its focusing on Peter's internal struggle. Now, let's talk about the comic book version, which approaches the alien costume in a completely different way. In the comics, Peter first gets the black suit during Secret Wars, and from the beginning, the suit is treated more as a convenience than a power-up. It transforms instantly into his clothes, responds to his thoughts, and provides endless organic webbing. But unlike the animated version, Peter never says he feels stronger or faster. His fights don't suddenly become easier. The story doesn't highlight physical improvements. The only hints that he might have some enhanced attributes come much later, when a few villains comment that Spider-Man feels tougher or quicker than usual, but Peter never acknowledges it, and his success in battles don't noticeably change, so the suit's benefits in the comics are mostly practical rather than physical. The conflict with the suit in the comics is different. The symbiote controls Peter when he's asleep. While Peter is unconscious, the suit takes over, swings throughout the city, and uses his body all night. When Peter wakes up, he has no memory of it, but he feels exhausted, both mentally and physically. His performance as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker gets worse. His partnership with Black Cat suffers, his daily life becomes strained. And the real danger isn't that he's becoming more aggressive, it's that he is losing autonomy. Once Peter realizes something is wrong, he remembers that Reed Richards had offered to examine the suit. Reed discovers the truth. The costume is a sentient alien that wants a perfect symbiotic bond, meaning Peter would eventually lose himself entirely if he continued to wear it. When the suit senses that Peter wants to remove it, it refuses to come off. It no longer responds to his mental commands. Reed Richards is the one who discovers its weakness, sound and fire, and he uses a sonic device to rip the symbiote off of Peter. The Human Torch uses flames to contain it. Only after it's imprisoned does the symbiote grow resentful, eventually bonding with Eddie Brock and becoming Venom. If we are to summarize the major differences between these two versions, we can say that the animated series focuses on physical enhancement and emotional corruption. The suit makes Peter stronger and faster, and the central conflict is about how that power starts warping his personality. It becomes a test of his responsibility and self-control. Peter discovers the symbiote's weakness himself and removes it through his own determination. In the comic books, the suit gives convenience but not obvious strength. The conflict resolves around exhaustion and loss of autonomy, not moral corruption. Reed Richards, not Peter Parker, discovers the weaknesses and removes the suit for him. One version is about resisting power, the other is about escaping parasitic control. Both leads to Venom, but the journeys are fundamentally different. And this fundamental difference is what leads to why the 1990s animated version became the more widely known one. It's simply the stronger dramatic arc. It shows Peter pushed by power, tempted by it, resisting it, and ultimately defeating it through his own will. It highlights his intelligence by having him figure out the symbiote's weakness. It emphasizes why Spider-Man is who he is. Someone who will always do the right thing even when the temptation is overwhelming. Because of those elements, this version became the blueprint that later adaptations followed, including Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy and the Spectacular Spider-Man TV series. That's the version that resonated most with audiences, and that's why it became the definitive Venom origin outside the comics. Thank you for watching, and let us know in the comments which version do you prefer, the animated series or the original comic book story. For now, BayBros out.